Alright guys, welcome to my video for the Power DPS Berserker for PvE raids. The video is a little bit different than previous warrior videos in that this one is not a banner build, although it can be modified to be a banner build. This one is actually a pure DPS build for the warrior in raids. I'm not going to go into fractals and tell you how to modify it for fractals. You can kind of figure that out on your own. It's pretty much the same, except you might need to take a little bit more CC, yada yada yada. For raids, the big thing that you're going to see from most build sites is recommending thief runes in order to hit the crit cap with no assassin's gear and allowing you to run a rage utility skill. Now, after a lot of testing, I have kind of come to the conclusion that one, thief runes are not super practical in a lot of cases, and I actually think that most people will get more out of scholar runes. And one of the ways to run scholar runes is to use Signet of Fury instead of Bull's Charge or Outrage, which might be two of the things that you see in a lot of people's guides or rotation videos. And I do think that the Bull's Charge version has slightly better peak performance uptime. The Outrage version has slightly longer Berserk uptime, but overall, I don't think you lose a ton of DPS, especially in practice, by running Signet of Fury. I do believe that in actual raids, where you are not going to get 100% of flanking uptime on thief runes, or where you are sometimes going to have stability stacks that prevent you from utilizing Outrage to full effect, I do believe that the best thing in that situation is a build with Scholar Runes using Signet of Fury. The plus side being it's easier to play. The downside is this build will probably do a little bit less DPS on the Golem, but in practice, in an actual raid, you shouldn't notice any difference at all, and there will probably be some situations where it's actually higher. So before we get into that, I do want to point out that if you look at the utility bar, you see there's a Signet with Precision and a Signet with Might. If you are playing the banner version of this build, you can just simply switch those to banners if that's what you want or if that's what you need, and be good to go. There's a little bit of gear swapping if you want to play banners, because you have to make up for the 180 precision that you lose, but the end result should be relatively similar. So we'll go over that when we talk a little bit about gear. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll get into it. Alright guys, gear for the Power DPS Warrior. We are going to run for our runes, Superior Rune of the Scholar, as I talked about in the introduction. And then we're going to run Axe, and Greatsword with Sigil of Force and Impact in each slot. However, this build does need some pieces of Assassin's Gear to crit cap. The pieces are going to be the shoulder needs to be Assassin, the amulet needs to be Assassin, and the earrings need to be Assassin. So you can get those and you will hit the crit cap 100% even and be good to go. All the infusions, by the way, if you're into infusions, should be mighty. The gear, pretty straightforward. If you've played warrior for a while, you're pretty much used to different mixes of assassin's gear all the time, and that's the way it goes. There is a change when you do want to play this as a banner warrior. You'll have to switch your gear around a little bit. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, so what about the banner version? So if we're running the banner version, I'm going to recommend that you change the impact sigil on your axe and greatsword to accuracy to give you additional crit chance. However, that's going to make you overcap crit chance by 40 points of precision. So the easy way to get that back would be to change your shoulder to Berserker and one of your earrings to Berserker. So for the banner version, you want to go with force and accuracy and go with Berserker shoulder and one assassin's earring and one Berserker earring. And that would be the adjustment that you would need to make for the banner warrior. Whichever one you run the most, that's probably how I'd gear. I know not everybody has legendary gear, not everybody has accessories they can switch around. I would pick the one that you run the most and go with that. Chances are, for most of you guys watching the video, it's honestly probably going to be banners, but I wanted to make this video for DPS because that's what's more interesting to me to play right now. So that's what I'm making it for, and hopefully it will become more interesting for everyone to play as time goes on and it becomes more accepted in the community. But that said, the change for Banner Warrior is switch the Assassin's Shoulder to Berserker, switch the Sigil of Impact to Accuracy, and switch one of the Assassin's Earrings to Berserker, and you will be good to go. Alright, let's talk traits real quick. So we're going to take Strength, which you might suspect since this is a Power Warrior. Peak Performance, of course. Not one of my favorite traits. I don't like it. I don't like that we have to use it. But it is a DPS increase, a big one, and until it is changed, if and when it's changed, it is going to remain a big part of the Power DPS Warrior playstyle, so we can't ignore it. Forceful Greatsword, we will take at the Master tier. It is a pretty nice DPS boost for us, even on Axe. And then at the Grandmaster level, we're going to take Berserker's Power for a, of course, pretty sick DPS increase. You guys are all aware of that. On Discipline, we are going to take Warrior's Sprint for the 7% damage boost. Fast Hands, of course, to give us the super sweet weapon swap. Double Standards. This will ensure that we get additional stats from the banners that the Banner Warrior puts down. If you are playing the banner version of this build, you will get the benefit from your own banners. If you're playing the DPS version, you will get the benefit from the banners that the Banner Warrior puts down. And then Grandmaster is going to be Axe Mastery, which gives us a boatload of crit damage when we are on Axe, and then some additional ferocity even when we're not. The Berserker, instead of playing Core Warrior, this is what we get to do. We get to play an elite spec and feel good about it. We're going to take Smash Brawler, which will increase the duration of Berserk mode by 5 seconds. That, as you might guess, is pretty good. Blood Reaction is a pretty nice trait to take in a power build. It's going to gain us even more ferocity, and we'll gain a pretty sweet bonus there. And then the Grandmaster level is Bloody Roar, which is 20% damage while in Berserk. I have been told by people that this trait is bugged and isn't giving as much damage as it's supposed to. People have said that it's being applied additively instead of multiplicatively, and if that is the case and it's fixed, Berserker should see a nice little DPS increase that will move us up the DPS charts. But that is it for traits. We'll talk skills. Blood Reckoning is very OP. It will recharge your burst skill and extend your Berserk duration by 2 seconds. Both of those things we like quite a bit. Bolus is on our bar to enable peak performance. It's the single best skill for maximizing your peak performance. Signet of Might is pretty standard for Power Warrior builds. 180 power is pretty good. And then Signet of Fury, this is where I differ from the other builds, as I talked about in the introduction. I prefer the simpler, more reliable playstyle of Scholar runes instead of Thief runes, and also using the simpler and more reliable Signet of Fury to, one, enable the Scholar runes, but also to avoid having situations where you can't use Outrage because your teammates are giving you stability. That is a major feels bad to have a stack of stability and not be able to use Outrage. And then our elite is going to be Headbutt, because that is how we will gain adrenaline at the start of every fight in order to get our Berserk going. Incidentally, the other builds that use Outrage instead of Signet of Fury have to use, or they don't have to, but they do use Headbutt as part of their rotation because it helps extend their Berserk mode. That's great, except for then it takes away the utility of being a really awesome CC. In this build, you use Headbutt at the start of the fight to get your adrenaline up, but then you don't have to necessarily touch it again, and you can save it for actual CC and actually contribute to your team's break bars. So overall, I've talked about it in the introduction, and I've talked about it again here, why I am preferring Scholar runes with Signet of Fury over Thief rune builds that use Outrage or use Bull's Charge. When we go over the rotation, I will show you that it is a little bit simpler than some of the others, and I think it loops very nicely, and I think you guys will have a lot of fun playing it, and I can actually say that it is pretty fun to play, and I'm happy that we have a nice looping rotation that is fun to play. So let's talk about that rotation now. All right, so here goes the rotation. We are going to lead with Headbutt to charge up our adrenaline. Then after the Headbutt wears off, we are going to Bolus, activate Berserk, Decapitate, and then Axe 5. After Axe 5, we're going to Decapitate again, and then Axe 2, Axe 3, and Decapitate again. And then Axe 4, Axe 3, and Decapitate again. And then we're going to Blood Reckoning, Decapitate again, and then Bolus, Axe 2, swap to Greatsword, and Arc Divider. After Arc Divider, we do 100 Blades. Everyone's favorite skill. Greatsword 4, then Bolus again, and then an Arc Divider again. And after this second Arc Divider, we will swap back to Axe and do an Axe 5. And then after the Axe 5, we're going to Decapitate. And then Axe 2, Axe 3, Decapitate again, Axe 4, and then Berserk will run out. And we swap to Greatsword when Berserk runs out. Do 100 Blades. Greatsword 4. And then do 1 auto attack chain on Greatsword. Swap back to Axe. Axe 2, Axe 3, and then an Axe auto attack chain. And then after that auto chain, you can go back into Berserk and repeat the rotation. And that's it. You can loop it just like that forever. And enjoy. Alright guys, one last thing I want to touch on is the food for this build. The standard food is going to be sweet and spicy butternut squash soup with potent superior sharpening stones. However, we all know that not all the time are you going to have spotter. So if you don't have spotter in your subgroup, you should switch to using bowl of curry butternut squash soup to make up the lost precision. Additionally, you can use writs of masterful strength if you feel that you're going to have good scholar uptime, and in a lot of speed clear guilds this might not be necessarily the case, but coincidentally, if you are in a guild or a group that has, say, a heal Scourge or a full heal Ellie or one of those alt healers that really are really good about keeping you healed, then Writ of Masterful Strength is a pretty nice DPS increase for you, and something that you should very much consider. So that is it for the food, guys, and that is it for this build guide. I hope you guys enjoy this. I have a lot of fun playing the DPS build. It's nice once for Warrior not to be a banner slave. You can be if you want. If you want to be a slave, you can do that. Or you can be a full DPS build that tears the faces off bosses. And I think we've kind of done the support thing for a while, so maybe it's our time to shine. Who knows? But I think you guys will have fun with it. And I'm glad that you guys stuck around and watched this video. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time with more fun. Bye, guys.